Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Oxygen Not Included, the first episode I'm doing here in the agricultural upgrade. So the game has just been updated and they've added some new fancy stuff here. So today I'm going to be taking a good look at some of the new plants and also coming up with a little bit of a farming system so that we can get the best yield out of it. But let's just jump into the game here real quick and let me show you around this little update. As you can see, new little logo. Check it out. Fancy, huh? In case you happen to be watching this on the 17th, the update is going to come out on the 18th. I do have a little bit of early access to the game, thanks to the developers of this game and for hooking me up. Alright, so this is a little bit of a base that I have going on here. I've just been using debug mode and throwing some crazy things around, just seeing what all is up in this game. First and foremost, the printing pad. Watch, as I'm going to disable this building so it isn't annoying. So nice. Okay, so a quick overview of some of the other things that are here. Electricity got a complete overhaul with the heavy watt wires. So heavy watt wires are now up to 20 kilowatts right there. And then you jump down through a power transformer into the light wattage wires. So if you plug in a light watt to, a big cable like this, it won't necessarily fry. And this sort of thing helps prevent that. Obviously, I'll get more into that later on. We got a new building, the natural gas generator right there. And in case you're wondering, there are natural gas geysers out there. That's going to be absolutely awesome. You find one of those and you could just start pulling in the power. There's going to be a lot more power available to use. There's also been some updates in the background as far as thermal dynamics go. So the perpetual motion sort of thing of the temperature resetting from tile to tile isn't necessarily happening anymore. However, it is still possible to make a hydrogen bubbler. So I'll be doing more experiments on that later. One of my personal favorite updates is the massage table. And now this massage table actually does take power to run because the little hands go up and down. But what you can do is you can set your max stress. So if I reduce this down, somebody who's over that stress level right there, like May, will just come up and automatically jump onto the massage table. And then I have a minimum number to when they jump off. Another thing in the update is the pressure switches. So we have a hydro switch and then the atmospheric switch. And these are based on the gas pressure. So if I go ahead and put this down, they will either turn on or off a circuit that's passing through it. If you do the same sort of thing right here. So you have, this is your pressure. You can see the current pressure right there, and you can set it above or below that. And that really opens up some pretty sweet opportunities to create all sorts of stuff. I'll actually use that when I go to try to design a system that's going to grow the perfect food. Speaking of growing the perfect food, that's probably the biggest update to this game is in the plants we have and the recipes we can now make. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. On our food tab here, we have a couple of new tiles. Obviously, we still have the old planter box, which is just normal right there. And we still have the aquatic farm tile, which is used for our thimble reed. Two new tiles we have is a farm tile and a hydroponic farm. And as you guessed, a hydroponic farm can have liquid pumped directly to it. So along with growing plants and having new tiles, these plants now have harvest rating tiers right here. So based on the conditions that this plant is growing in, it'll change the amount of yield you get out of that plant. So looking at harvest rating tiers, for standard, in this case, I'm going to have one bristleberry. This is hard to say. For good, then you can also have a bristleberry and then have another seed. So you can grow yet another plant right there. So that's how you start to get seeds back out of your plants, is by growing them in good or better conditions, depending on what we have here. So excellent for the bristle blossoms is another berry right there. And you can see the calorie, that's just for one unit. And then you can get 2 seeds out of that. So growing this in better conditions will give you more rewards and that'll allow you to expand your farm. That's not necessarily the same for every plant though. So for example here, the mealwood gives you 800 calories of meal lice. At standard, goes up to 1600, so it doubles if you can get it up to good. And if you go up to excellent right there, it's still going to be 1600, but you get 2 seeds allowing you to grow more plants. So as far as tile tiers go, the planter box is your most basic form of growing plants right there. It doesn't allow you to fertilize and it doesn't allow you to irrigate. The farm tile allows you to fertilize but not irrigate. The hydroponic farm is the highest tier of growing tiles, so therefore it allows you to irrigate and fertilizer. All of that works to boost up your plant's rating essentially, so you can get more yield. Another new plant that's available for us here is the pinch pepper here. So out in the wild, this is what the pinch of pepper looks like. And this plant actually grows upside down. So yes, you guessed it, you can actually rotate these tiles. And if your question is, can you start to grow bristle blossoms upside down? No, you can't. You have to place your tiles according to what way your plant wants to grow. So the only time you flip it upside down is to plant your pinch of pepper, which I'm gonna do right there. Here it goes. This one's a little weird in that it requires phosphorus as its fertilizer. If we take a look at our plants again and we look down here at effects, we're going to see different check marks that we can cross off to increase that yield of your plant right here. So you got the temperature. This is the ideal temperature, not just the temperature that it can grow in. You can see how this one will grow in 35 to 85 degrees Celsius, so a nice wide range. But if you can keep it between 55 and 60, you're going to give it +1 points per cycle. Keep that in mind, we'll get back to it. Gas pressure, you want to keep it above 750 grams per tile. And you also want to irrigate this particular plant with polluted water. And as I mentioned before, fertilize this one with phosphorus. Everything else just uses fertilizer, by the way, just good old standard fertilizer that you can pump out of a fertilizer maker machine. Or you could flip your poop over in a compost pile. That works too. I haven't quite looked closely enough to see if any of these numbers have started to change on that. There's a lot to look at, a lot to cover here. There we go. Bristle blossom. All right, so if we take a look at this bristle blossom right here, we got some new information that's available to us. So we have some conditions right here. So the growth progress was at 89%. It actually became available to harvest before 100% right there. Fertilization has gone up to its maximum because I've constantly been fertilizing it. I've also been constantly irrigating it with water, which is the correct fluid as it is in a hydroponic farm. Its harvest rating is currently 55.1 out of 100, and it's predicted a good yield right here. So if we come up to the status right here, we have harvest remaining 2, and then we have a good yield rating, which is only for the final harvest that we will get 1 extra blossom seed. So we'll be able to replant this seed because we've done enough to actually get this number up. So if we watch this over time, we'll see how this kind of develops here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go into ultra mode here real quick. So you can see they harvested it, and I got a bristle blossom berry out of that. It's unrefrigerated. 1 unit is 1,600 calories right there. And as you can see, the calorie numbers are definitely different right there. You can see what's making this up. We got a ton of meal lice, we got some muck root, some lice loaf, and a bristle berry right there that's making up all that information. All right, so it looks like we got a good rating right there because we got our seed out of it. So we can actually go ahead and replant this one if we want. Looking back over here on the left, we have the bristle blossom, and this one is only in a standard farm tile right there. So I'm getting a standard yield because I've only been able to fertilize it. Hovering over the standard yield, you can see some more information that's happening right there. So fertilized is 1.39, I guess, numbers per cycle right there. So that obviously has to kind of build up. Unfortunately, I'm not within the ideal temperature, or I'm not within the ideal pressure right there in order to get that yield up higher. So it should be possible with just a farm tile here to get a bristle blossom up to the point where you can go ahead and replant it over and over again. But that is a good segue into my next part right here. I'm gonna go ahead and try to set up a couple of different little farms that should get the best yield possible using planter boxes, farm tiles, or hydroponic farms right there in order to get different results to see, what those numbers are for your plants. A little bit of optimizing. You know how I do it. With all those different requirements in mind, I went ahead and made a chart for you guys. So this should be nice and useful. You can go ahead and take a screenshot, or I think head down there to the description below for an image. So what I have here is these are the requirements for the best results. So if we can keep it within this temperature range, we're going to get a bonus every single day right there. If we keep it with more than this amount of gas pressure, we'll also get a bonus as well. Not saying that this won't grow in less pressure. There are the minimum requirements for each one of these plants. You can go ahead and look it up. But this is for the best results, right? That's what I'm looking to do here. So we got mealwood, bristle blossom, sleet wheat, pinch of pepper, and then the thimble reed seed, which is kind of a weird plant that hasn't, I think, been fully developed yet. That's just used for clothing, so it's really not used for food. So let's just focus on the first 4 right here. So with that in mind, we can go ahead and use a planter box to cover the first 2 right here. So as long as we have the setup right, a planter box can cover temperature and gas pressure. So we can go ahead and get those points every cycle that, add up. Add a farm tile, we can jump into the fertilizer, and then finally jumping to the hydroponic farm, we can add in the amount of irrigation that we need. So it's either going to be polluted water or standard water. And that all adds up to what our yield is going to be. So the only two foods that are directly edible is mealwood and the bristle blossoms in the form of meal lice and bristleberries. So meal lice has very small, units, but there's several of them that you'll get. So you'll get 8 units at 100 calories each. So that gives you a total calorie of 800 right there. If you get up to good, you can jump it up to 1600. And then for excellent, you can actually get your seeds back out of it. So you want to make sure you can get your meal wood all the way up to excellent so that you can continuously use that over and over again and making your base very, very sustainable as far as food goes. That way you don't have to eat nasty little mush bars. And yeah, food's down here as well. Taking a look at the bristle blossoms, we only have to get that up to good in order to make that replantable. If you get that up to excellent though, you can expand your bristle blossom setup right there. However, this does have a much closer temperature tolerance right there. -3 to +3 degrees Celsius. So that's very, very tight. We got to have a good setup in order to make that work. It also requires a lot more fertilizer than the mealwood. So there's a little bit more of that. I believe that used to give 1,000 calories per cycle. That's now down to 1,600 as well. So there's been a little bit of change and rebalance. That may be the same with the meal lice as well. So a bristleberry, which is only harvestable every 2 cycles, right? Yeah, so for the bristle blossoms here, you get 5 harvests every 2 cycles. Mealwoods only get 3 harvests every 2.5 cycles. So there's some more stuff I guess I can add to this chart too if I really wanted to. Taking a look at sleet wheat, this is only found in the very cold biomes, but it's found very readily as well. So you can find it over there. Has a high requirement as far as fertilizer goes, and is not directly edible. However, you can see how many units you get out of this. It only gives you 1 harvest though. Oh, fine, I'll add it. Jeez. All right, that's some pretty useful information right there. All right, so the mealwood here has 3 total harvests right there. It takes 5 cycles to initially grow, and then every 2.5 cycles after that to regrow until you're done with your harvests, and therefore you're left with whatever your yield is. So at that point, you either get your seed, or no seed. So with all of the above in mind, there's actually a lot more we can do with that as far as the foods that we can cook. So let's take a look at that in game. Looking over here, we have the good old micro musher. So those are just mush bars and lice loaf as well right there. However, over here at the cooking station, we got some new recipes. We got some nice mush fry, some gristleberry, pickled meal. Delicious, I like pickles. BBQ, giving you soul food right there, which is actually -15 to your stress percent per, for that day right there. Very, very useful. We have frost bun, pepper bread, and zesty salsa right there. Now these also have quality ratings as well. So to help us out with all of this, there's a new consumable tab up here. So if you take a look at this, we have our duplicates. Their expectations are currently -1, so we can see what foods are available at -1 and try to arrange them accordingly based on what we have available. And you can see right here, just by mousing over, I don't have any meat, I don't have any mush bar, but I do have like some bristleberries, and that's -1, so maybe everybody could eat that for a little while. Meal lice right there, I do have a lot of that, however its quality is -3, so that's maybe not something I want. Maybe I want to turn that into something a little bit better. So you get that idea. Let's take a look at the recipes. So taking a look at our recipes, we have our food, we have the effects, and then we have the ingredient requirements right here. So you can see all this. A basic mush bar right here is a horrible quality of -3 with a chance of diarrhea. It uses 75 kilograms of dirt and water. Tasty. But doesn't require any sort of plant in order to make it. So I tried to highlight stuff right here. I don't know what to call meat. I don't know, make it meatish looking. What looks like meat? Does that look like meat? That looks like meat. Maybe a little too dark. There you go, light meat. Lice loaf here is, I believe it's a very additive sort of something you can make. So as you are harvesting your mealwood right here, it takes 500 calories or 5 units of meal lice to make a lice loaf, giving you 1,000 calories. So you can double the amount of food you have by reprocessing that. That also improves its quality to a -2, I believe. Yeah. So that was a -3 up to a -2. Sweet! So that covers the microbe mushers. So now looking at the cooking station here, we can reprocess mush bars into mush fry, which gives you a -2 quantity. So it actually improves the quantity right there, but it takes 2 mush bars to make 1 mush fry. I want to go ahead and run an experiment to see if I'm actually losing calories, because as you read it, it looks like it adds calories, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. So in order to test this, I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. Only takes 60 watts. I think that might have gone down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a mush fry right here. So ingredients, 2,000 calories worth of mush bars, which I have around. Effects, 1,000 calories. So let's go ahead and make one of those. Oops, not continuous. All right, so as Lindsay is cooking this up, we can see the contents here. I have this on continuous production. I had 6,000 calories worth of mush bars already. And now when she makes this, I should be left with a mush fry. And that mush fry has only 1,000 calories right there. All right, so taking a look at my duplicants here, let's go ahead and take a look at Lindsay. So you can see her calories. She has 2,000 inside of her, I guess, right now, before starving. And change per cycle minus 1,000 right there. So with that in mind, as we look at these recipes, some of them are reductive. So you're losing calories, but you're gaining quality. So looking back at our recipes right here, that mush fry, again, like I said, you got +1 quality at the loss of half of the calorie count you have. Obviously, though, it only takes dirt and water. So we can see right here, we can turn a bristleberry into a gristleberry right there. So we can deep fry it. Scrumptious. One more unique thing that's available is you can empty the storage within these containers now, so should be able to kick this stuff out. There we go. Boom. Ripped it out of there. You don't need that. Then you can come and sweep it up. So that's pretty useful. You can do that on all kinds of stuff now. And no, I didn't plant this over here. I just teleported it, by the way. So that Wheezewort is just there to try to make this cold. I've been doing some crazy stuff on this whole map right here. I can't really confirm or deny that that pickled meal will last a long time. Looking back here at barbecue, this one has that soul food, nice little side effect right there. Gives you -15 stress per cycle. That's absolutely awesome. Only has a quality of 1 right there. I don't know what's up with that, but I feel like some barbecue in real life. I'm kind of stressed. That sounds great. The thing is that you need meat, so you gotta find meat somewhere. You gotta go attack something and kill it. So I don't know what you do. Maybe you go kill some baby puffs or something like that. You horrible person. Frost bun right there. So that's made from the sleet wheat grain right there. So that has 1,000 calories. It's only a quality of -1. And as we know, it takes a long time to get sleet wheat. However, it doesn't take a lot to make one right there. So 3. Let's say I get a full yield out of that. That means I can make 25 frost buns. So that's 25,000 calories right there from just 1 plant. Pepper bread is a little bit higher right there. Obviously it requires a pinch of pepper nut and a lot of grain as well. So that's a high quality food, kind of hard to make. For your duplicants with incredibly refined taste buds that will not accept anything but the finest foods, we have the zesty salsa right here. This is very hard to make. It takes bristleberries at 3,200 calories worth, so 2 bristleberries and the pinch of pepper nut right there, just to make 1 of those for 1,000 calories. Tough food to make, but super high quality. So there you have it. You are now in the know. So let's go ahead and see if I can come up with a system here to grow you some perfect food. All right, so let's go ahead and clear some space. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Don't crash on me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's crashing. This is probably going to want to be blocked off from everything else so I don't freeze my duplicants out. There you go. And you'll be all fine over there. Oh, interesting. I just noticed this. Effects. When you actually put down a tile, your duplicants will run 50% faster on them. That's kind of cool. The little things you find out. Alright, so I got hydroponic farms on the bottom, normal farm tiles here, and then planter boxes up here. So on the left, I'm going to have some space heaters. That'll heat things up if I need to. And then I will have an air pump on the right side if I need to pump things around a little bit. So there we go, a little gas pump over here, just like so. 2 switches I want to have is a thermal switch and then an atmospheric pressure switch. So I'll go ahead and put those over there. Tell you what, I'm going to make all of these 4 high, because I think that'll work a little bit better. That way I can put my sensors up higher. Of course, I gotta get rid of all this stuff now. Some of it's just floating in midair. I've noticed that since the last update. So here we go. I'll put the thermal switch right here and then the atmospheric switch right there. So that should work a little bit better. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and close off this side because I no longer need it. I can also close off this side. I'm using some abyssalite insulation tiles, by the way. Not that that's absolutely necessary, but I'm using it just for the sake of it. So to try to keep the pressures good between the two areas, I'm going to go ahead and do this number. I think there is a way to create a liquid lock between the two that would kind of work like a door, but I'll explore that in a later video. I'm starting to run out of time for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an electric door out here, and then a mechanical door beyond that one, just so I don't use up more energy. Electric doors are a little bit faster. That's why I'm putting it out here, so it should open and close really quick. And then this one here, so hopefully the pressure, you won't drop too much. That's the idea. Alright, so on the back side of this, I'm going to need thermal regulators, so I can cool it if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and add one of those. So for these thermal regulators, I used gold amalgam right there, so that was gives me a little bit higher temperature before they start to overheat. Not that I expect them to overheat though. Just good practice. I also need another air pump that will increase my atmospheric pressure if I need it to. So I can go ahead and place that over here. You know, in case we're opening up on this side and that pressure starts to drop, we want to make sure that we have at least 750 grams of oxygen or polluted oxygen per tile. Doesn't necessarily need to be oxygen. So starting to look at power here, I'm going to go ahead and plug in from this guy over to this pump so I make sure I can connect those two. And then I want to make sure the pressure switch is hooked up, so I'll go ahead and do that. As far as this thermal regulator goes, it's always going to want to be on. And the same thing with this door. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to those two. There's one more switch I need, which I don't have positioned in here currently. And that's going to be for the space heater. So let me go ahead and toss that in. I think that thing went way up in watts. Makes more sense at 120. Maybe it was just misreading last time, or maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought that was like 5 watts previously. So I want to make sure that that is connected. No need to worry about decor in here. It's going to be low pretty much no matter what you do. Another thing I'm going to need down here is going to be a liquid pump and a little bit of a reservoir. Again, depending on what I'm trying to grow in here is whatever type of water I'm going to need. So I either have 2 reservoirs, or wherever my reservoir is, I want to be able to pipe in different sort of stuff. So right over here you can see from the liquid standpoint what I got going on. This is just one pump that's going in here, so I can grow bristle blossoms, or if I wanted to do the mealwood right there, I'm just pulling that from the runoff of my natural gas generator, which actually gives off carbon dioxide and polluted water. Very handy thing. So I'm going to have a liquid pump over here. This unit can also just be constantly plugged in. So you can see that there's actually quite there's a lot of potential watts I can start pulling from here. Luckily I have a line protector, so I got a power transformer which I'm going to use on the front end of these systems to make sure I don't overdraw anything. To set that up, I'm going to go ahead and do this number right here, go over to power and use my power transformer ability. I need another space. Alright, so here's my power transformer. How this guy works, I'm going to use a heavy watt wire. Again, this thing can run up to 20 kilowatts. You can't run it across tiles though, at least from what I've seen. Maybe that'll be different once you guys download the game, but currently this is the way it is. So I'm going to plug those into my bridge and then run it to the other side of the wall. So on the big side you plug in your big power, and then on the small side you plug in your normal electrical wire. So that's why I did a wire bridge here, because I can't take this and run it across. You see how that kind of ends up with a break? I'm not sure if it's intended to be designed that way, but it is currently. So those guys power up right there. So now I'll take my small wire and I'm going to go ahead and plug it into everything I need. So I can just plug directly into this door for everything that's going to be on. And then I'm going to use another wire bridge like this. Probably should have just run this one down. Actually, that's probably a better idea. So then I'll run this one over here like that. Haha, that'll work. Do some modifications here. There we go, now we can get to it. Sweet. One more thing I gotta plug in, my liquid pipes. So this, all this has to do is come on over here and then go into these tiles. And each one of these tiles, inside of it can hold 10 kilograms of liquid. So for this experiment here, all I'm gonna go ahead and do is mealwood, because I have a lot of seeds available for it, and I just only have so much time, so I'm not gonna go through all the different seeds at this time. Maybe in another video we'll see if the system actually works well enough to run all those different ones, but hey, we'll see. Another thing I need to do, start using my insulated pipes to kind of run this circuit. So I'm going to go into the thermal regulator, this will cool it down, and then out on this side, and then I'm just going to vent it in that corner. Not needing to use insulated pipes, I'm going to go ahead and do this number. Just bring it up over here, and then I'll vent out on the exact same spot. Oh wait, maybe it's the same thing. Who knows, whatever. We'll see if it works. Alright, so setting up these switches here for mealwood, you can see I have to maintain a temperature between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius right there. So if the temperature drops below 18.6 on this thermal switch, it'll turn on, turning on the space heater, warming up the space. On this switch though, if it ends up getting hotter than just under 22, so what's the closest number I can go? 21.3. So if it is above 21.3, I'm going to pump some air out. It'll be reduced through the regulator and then vented back into the room. So I'm going to try to keep that temperature range perfect. This slider is kind of hard to use. Somehow I got 18.9 up here and 18.6 down here. Okay, they need to work on this slider. Okay, so if this temperature drops below, just to be safe, 900 grams, I'm going to go ahead and pump in some more air into this area. You know what, let's just leave it at 1000. If it drops below 1000, pump in some more. Doesn't even require you to mess with it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and paint in some dirty water here. There we go. That might be a little bit much. Okay. Whoops! I got a little overzealous with the water. As far as liquid, you can see we filled it up real nice there. I'm going to go ahead and set all of these to a nice high priority. And then we'll plant them up. So just out of curiosity, I'm going to go ahead and paint in vacuum to each one of these spaces. And we're going to see if this pressure switch will actually work here, just to test that. Okay, it's not working. Because I never hooked it up. Good thing you did this. Okay, so that's one hooked up. I want to make sure I hook up the other ones. Just like so. You can see they've added some color indicators to let you know what's going on here. So here we go. We're starting to pump in oxygen to this space. And we're starting to grow some plants. So the temperature up here is a little bit colder. Actually, as you go up, some of these are quite a bit more colder than the others. I need to make sure I have enough fertilizer. I think I'm gonna have too little. Oh, I can just paint in fertilizer. Sweet. Now I got fertilizer for days. Boom. Alright, so you can see here, this temperature was able to get up to the right number. So we can see what's going on here. And this one's trying to cool down now. And it's trying to heat at the same time. I might have to come up with a different system besides the space heater and that. I don't know. This might be a little bit too aggressive. Interesting. This is kind of cool. I like it. So now this is going to come out and it's going to make everything so cold. This system over here is just going to constantly run against itself. However, if we take a look at what's growing inside of here, it's irrigated, so I'm getting 2.5 per cycle. I'm getting fertilized, which is good. Ideal pressure is good. The standard temperature is the only one that's coming on and off because the temperature keeps doing this number. I might want to go ahead and use something like what we did a lot with the hydrogen bubbler, using a radiator system, because I know I can control the temperature of the gas inside that radiator very, very closely by using a balancing chamber. Maybe that's the right way to go. You can also heat this stuff up and then pipe it back around to make those changes very gradual. I like it. That might be an idea for the future. But you guys can see where this is going. This is kind of fun. We have some new things to kind of experiment with. This is too aggressive. Whatever, we'll see what the results are by the end of the 5 days right here. You can see I'm going to try to get a good yield, 74.7. So So maybe I don't need the space heater down here because my liquid's warm enough. Yeah, see, there we go. Ideal pressure, what do I have? Standard temperature. That's the tough one. Okay, I'll make this 23.5, so it's a little bit... This will make this a little bit warmer. You gotta tweak your systems, you gotta get it just right so you can grow your perfect little plants. Like, bristle blossoms are gonna be tough. You only have 6 degrees. I guess technically, mealwood is actually just as difficult, isn't it? 18 to 22. Man, that's actually harder, isn't it? So the cool thing about this, I don't know if I told you before, but auto harvest. I love it. That's the best thing they've added. Maybe not, but it's pretty awesome. You know, an air deodorizer is probably a great thing to have in here. Just to kind of maybe clean up some of this stuff. Another thing might actually have the fertilizer right here so they don't have to come in and out multiple times. And then you end up having to work to control the gas a little bit more. That's one, and you know, I can tell it already. You guys got ideas, they're percolating in your brain, you're getting ready. You know, this is what it's gonna take in order to get a perfect harvest for mealwood, bristle blossoms, everything. You're gonna have to let me know down there in the comment section below. What is your idea for a perfect farming system right there? You guys can leave me images and all that fun stuff. It'll be pretty awesome. Obviously, I'm gonna wanna do more experiments and kind of explore different ideas. This gives us something else to play around with besides, you know, just the hydrogen bubbler up here. I like it. Not to mention, there's so much more stuff I could cover on this now that it is more thermally correct than what it was previously. All right, let me speed up through this and see what my results are by the end of it. I want to go ahead and see just how close we are here. You know what's another cool thing? If you have a setting for something like a storage compactor right here, you can copy settings and then drag it over whatever, you know, your other storage containers to apply those settings to all of that. Awesome little quick tool. Figured I'd show it to you. Here we go, look at all this. We're ready to harvest. Just out of curiosity, what would happen if I add a battery to this circuit on this side? Just right over here like this. See how those guys are charging up there. That might be able to create a little bit of a buffer so that this stuff doesn't turn off. Alright, so adding a battery was a good idea. Yeah, it's just running now. Okay, so now that the system has run for a little while, it looks like I got a standard yield up here on top. I might be able to get a little bit more if I could just get it balanced. Just a little bit more. Down here it looks like I'm geared up to do a good yield. And at the bottom, an excellent yield. So that'd be pretty sweet. We'll see as I get near the end. I'm having some problems with the power for the pump that runs this natural gas generator. So sometimes I'm drawing so much power that this thing turns off long enough to run us out of power. So I need to get somebody over here on this wheel. Come on. That looks like I got another harvest going on down here. All ready to go. So this will be a good yield. I'll get a 16 meal lice out of this one. That's what should happen. Somewhere down here should be meal lice. Yeah, you can see it right there on the screen. Meal lice times 16. So that harvest rating isn't necessarily just for the end harvest. It kind of depends on the plant. You got to look at it. I think the bristle blossoms, if you want to get a seed out of it, it's the last cycle. However, the mealwood is per cycle. Does that make sense? That does make sense. What do they got with the wheat? There's a lot to this. I mean, it's surprisingly kind of complicated. Well, there's only one harvest for the wheat, so that makes sense. So I'm getting another good yield up here. So I'll get 16 out of that. And we'll see if I can get this up to excellent down here. There's some weird effects that these duplicates now have. I don't know what it is, like half of them keep tripping onto their face and stuff. Of course their stress is going way up. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give them some free barbecue. And that should help everybody out. In each one of these systems, this plant right here that I'm on, so the fourth from the left, or the highest rated plant. So there's some reason to maybe space this stuff out, you know, it gives you a good reason for that. Get away from the door, get away from the heater that's giving off stuff. Rudy, you're eating all my stuff. What are you doing, Rudy? Oh, Rudy is like having stress eating. Just eating up all the meal lice in here. Well, it's a good thing there's a lot of it. So, a binge eater. That's horrible. One duplicate can just like eat you into the grave. Stop it, Rudy. Stop eating all up my food. No, you're eating more of it. Oh man. Oh my gosh, look at Rudy's food right here. Calories, change per cycle, 25,000 calories per cycle. Holy moly. We need to rebalance this one, guys. This one's ridiculous. Go to bed, Rudy. Rudy is disobeying everything. Holy cow, just go over here, Rudy. Or anywhere. Move right here. I know you can do it. Oh. Oh my gosh, anything that isn't tied down, Rudy's eating. Look at him go. Just eating everything. Rudy, get on the stress machine. Get on the massage table. Oh no, like, May. You suck. Okay, Rudy needs to just be teleported into a different space. There you go. There you go, Rudy. Now we're dropping down on that stress. Also sucking away all the power that I need. That was ridiculous. I've never had a duplicate eat so much food. Oh, what do we got going on down here? Oh, it's an excellent yield, so it's glowing. Ta-da! There we go. So this one worked out. Look at that. I don't know why that one, like, just disappeared. But there we go. I got 2 mealwood seeds and some meal lice down there. Hey, that works out. There's probably a better, more efficient way to do this, but for right now, that little system there works. So now these are automatically replanting and it's starting over again. What are we gonna get up here? We got a good yield, so we'll get maximum food out of that. And we also got good yield up on top from just a planter box right there. So that gives me 16 meal lice. Double the food, baby. So there you have it, guys. You saw the dynamics here of what it takes to grow really good food, and that's going to be a major part here in the agricultural update, along with some other stuff which I'll be covering quite a bit here in the next couple of days. Well, there you have it, guys. Hopefully you have found this video somewhat informative and maybe even a little entertaining. Let me know down there in the comment section below. And also, if you have some recommendations, I'll be making sure to read through that. And, you know, I like to do experiments and try things out. So thanks for watching, guys. If I've earned your subscription, then thank you so much for that. Hopefully I'll see you again next time. Stay awesome. Peace. Brothgar out.